Are you ready for the roar of the engine and the smell of burning rubber? Because rubbin's racing, and today we're talking about Top Gun with NASCAR. It's Days of Thunder.
Well, how about that? A sound we don't have to fix. I don't want you spoiled, Buck.
Originally released at the dawn of a new decade, 1990, Days of Thunder is a Tom Cruise vehicle that has Tom Cruise in a cool vehicle. Directed by Tony Scott, the movie sees the pair reunited for the first time since Top Gun launched them both into household names. The movie follows Cruise as the amazingly named Cole Trickle, a rookie driver who enters the world of NASCAR on a team led by Robert Duvall's Harry Hogge. The fun names don't stop there, as the movie also features Nicole Kidman as Dr. Claire Lewicki, Michael Rooker as Rowdy Burns, and Carrie Elways as Russ Wheeler. The history of this film is one of the end of an era and the beginning of another, as it served to end the 80s action spectacle film, which is surprising because Days of Thunder was almost beat for beat the same film that already proved to be a massive success. But before I get into all these sordid behind the scenes details, let's break down the film and how it almost exactly parallels Tom and Tony's other film, Top Gun.
Oh, this is gonna hurt.
The movie opens with a rock and roll montage of the Daytona 500. Even if you only have a passing knowledge of motorsport, you probably know that this is the most iconic race of any season. But unlike the Super Bowl, a 7th game playoff, or some other sports thing, the Daytona 500 comes at the very start of the season. We then cut to Cousin Eddie, who in this film is a successful car dealer looking to finance a new NASCAR team. He approaches a very retired Harry Hogge, who was formerly the lead mechanic on a team that ended when its driver died mid-race. He's tempted into building a new stock car for a driver making the move over from open-wheeled sprint car. This is Cole Trickle. He's a hotshot racer living on the edge who isn't afraid to push this expensive machine to its very limit. I guess you could say he's a bit of a maverick. We are also introduced to one of two Icemen in this film, with Rowdy Burns. Unlike Iceman, however, Rowdy isn't full of good advice and a reasonable approach. He's just as hot-headed and antagonistic as Cole himself. He's just been doing this longer. Hogge agrees to build and manage the car if Cole will drive it, and the pair begin their partnership. Things, however, get off to a rough start, as Cole ends up bouncing around the track like me playing Mario Kart while power downing Sailor Jerry's and Coke. Fun nights. Cole can't finish a race without smashing up his very expensive car, while the team owner fails to land sponsor after sponsor. As you can probably tell by the fact that NASCARs are 200-mile-per-hour billboards, sponsorship is essential if you want to keep racing. Cole and Harry are at each other's throats. That is until in true manly fashion they talk it out over a cold one. Cole reveals that he feels in over his head. He does not actually know anything about the language or mechanics of NASCAR. Right away, this makes Cole an instantly more depthful character than Maverick. Cole has flaws, and his pride made it hard to face them. Maverick's core flaw was that he was just so damn good all of the time, and no one would just let him be super awesome.
You're a hell of an instinctive pilot. Maybe too good.
Harry agrees to teach Cole about things like wedge and drag, and other racing terms that sound like X-Wing pilots. Together, they work to get the car in perfect order. During the various races shown in the first act, several things are established. One is the concept of rubbin's racing.
He didn't slam you, he didn't bump you, he didn't nudge you, he rubbed you. And rubbin's son is racing.
The various stock cars have no problem smashing into each other, hitting and sideswiping at full force, and straight up sandwiching an opponent against a wall. This is by far the biggest cinematic liberty when it comes to this film versus the actual sport. In real life, if a NASCAR driver were to ever do half the stuff shown, they would be outright disqualified and probably run out of the sport. In NASCAR, there are certainly crashes every season, and drivers will often touch. What they don't do is actively try to run each other off the track. So while the racing in Days of Thunder looks like this, real NASCAR mostly looks like this. You see why they chose to spice things up for the movie. On a trip home, Cole and his team bond. he learns that John C. Reilly's character, Buck, is the son of the driver previously killed on Harry's team, and there is some discussion about what actually happened. This also marks John C. Reilly's first of 2 appearances in iconic NASCAR films.
What are you doing after this?
After the race?
Yeah!
I don't know, but it feels like we're wasting a lot of time.
No, I know, I'm just excited, man!
The official story is that Buck's dad died of a heart attack mid-race, but Harry knows differently. It may have been a fault in the car, or it may have been the driver's own fear. They are then quickly pulled over by some supposed cops, and Cole is pranked by having one of the sexier officers grab his junk. When I was a kid watching this movie, I always assumed she was a stripper, but older me knows that Harry and the boys got Cole a straight up hooker. Things are looking good for the driver and his team, which means it must be time for the second act. During a race, Cole and Rowdy are again at each other's throats, smashing each other all over the track. Cole has a recurring thing where he passes on the outside, putting his car between the wall and Rowdy. While it led to victory before, it always comes at a great risk. This time, Rowdy spins Cole out with a blatant pit maneuver. Just another thing that would get him black flagged in real life. Cole races hard to catch back up to the front of the pack, but has to drive through a smoke-filled crash ahead. Things go bad when both men crash in a massive wreck that leaves them both severely injured. They are helicoptered to the hospital, where a brain injury has left Cole blind. We then meet Dr. Lewicki, played by Nicole Kidman. Kidman is so fresh off the boat in this movie that she is barely hiding her thick Australian accent.
You're welcome to, of course. But Dr. Wilhare and I have consulted, and we're of the same opinion.
Don't worry, guys, she'll get much better by the time she's rambling about the magic of cinema for AMC.
And we go somewhere we've never been before.
Cole recovers slowly, finally regaining his vision after the swelling in his brain decreases. He also formally meets his new doctor, and assumes she is another prank by Harry and the gang. This is cleared up later by Harry, but it's a pretty awkward meet cute. Still, despite him shoving her hand into his crotch, it's still far less creepy than Maverick cornering Kelly LeBrock in a woman's bathroom. In fact, the relationship between these two characters comes across as a far better version of Top Gun's. It helps that they would go on to be actually married in real life, but the chemistry between them feels like it's on equal footing. It's also a fun relic of an older Cruise film that no attempt is made to hide the fact that Kidman has nearly a full foot on him. When they finally kiss at the film's midpoint, Kidman pins him to a wall like an Amazon and practically has to take a knee to make him out. Make him out? What? No, fuck. And practically has to take a knee to make out. Someone's Hollywood step stool business was about to do very well. Cole returns to the track, but Rowdy is still sidelined because he refuses to do a necessary medical evaluation. While he was recovering, Cole was replaced on his team by temporary driver Russ Wheeler, played to smarmy perfection by Elwes. Wheeler is like the film's second Iceman, introduced just as Rowdy and Cole are completing their classic enemies to friends arc. This is actually one of the best examples of an overused trope, with both Rooker and Cruise selling the evolution. Wheeler does very well and quickly establishes his skill. It leads to him being offered a permanent role as a second driver on the team. This means that Cole is now under double the pressure to perform upon his return. When he is back behind the wheel, however, he falls further and further behind, mostly because of the fear of having another crash. This fear isn't helped when Rowdy starts to degenerate due to a brain bleed. Cole and Harry also end up without a car and a team when Cole lets his anger towards Wheeler get the better of him. He takes the car out during Wheeler's victory lap and trashes both vehicles. Again, something that would get him banned from the sport for life. For example, in 2005, driver Robbie Gordon threw his helmet at Michael Waltrip during a caution lap. This led to Gordon being fined $50,000 by NASCAR, losing a huge amount of seasonal points, and being placed on probation for the rest of the season. He was also forced to attend anger management, so I feel pretty comfortable in saying Cole would be fucked. This also leaves Cole in desperate need of a new ride. Luckily, Rowdy has a brain bleed. I mean, not lucky for him, but you know, works out for Cole. Rowdy can't race, but needs someone to drive his car so his sponsors will stay on for the season. The man has a lakefront retirement to save for. Cole agrees, but only on the condition that Harry sets up the car. Harry is hesitant because he fears Cole will end up dead just like his previous driver. According to him, Cole is repeating the same mistakes with his fear and self-doubt. And he's not entirely wrong. Cole is traumatized by his accident and what happened to Goose. I mean Rowdy.
You think you'll hide from your bad luck in his car, and what the hell for Rowdy? If he could run tomorrow, he'd crash you to win the race. He's mean. He's no particular friend. So why?
Because he asked me to.
Still, Harry is convinced and everyone heads to Daytona just in time for a few real-life NASCAR driver cameos. So it's the final race of the film and everything is set up. Cole needs to come in the top 5 to secure Rowdy's sponsors and redeem himself. For bonus measure, he is also severely pissed off with his now doctor girlfriend. She swore she wouldn't watch the race, but she's in the pit just the same. Cole is also facing off against Russ, who has fully replaced him on his old team. However, Uncle Eddie still has some fondness for Harry and Cole, as he provides them a much-needed replacement engine on the down low. The final race is filled with a lot of really great payoffs to things that have been set up all film. There is Cole riding Wheeler's tail the way he would ride Rowdy's, with the two duking it out all over the track. There is also a turning point in Cole facing his fears. A similar crash to his last one happens up track. He powers through it, narrowly missing every wreck, and comes out the other side on top. There is also some pit drama when Cole's accelerator gets stuck and he damages the transmission. It's a race against time to get him back in the game where he has to catch up to the pack.
Hey, you can't do that. That's not your car. It's my engine in that car. I gave him that engine, and that's what my boys are pushing.
Listen to me saying all these racing terms. My dad would be so proud. I mean, like, not necessarily about the part about being a YouTuber, but, you know, still remember all that racing stuff. The final stretch has Cole once again on Wheeler's tail, who is in first. Cole makes him think that he is pulling his usual trick of going high when he fakes the Dread Pirate out and drafts him to a victory. The movie has a very short ending where Cole is cheered on by the deck crew and other pilots. Again, I mean the pit crew and other drivers. He even kisses the girl, leaving a ton of black shit on Nicole Kidman's face. Yeah, she still has all that crap on her face by the time the credits roll, which happens seconds later on a literal freeze frame like it's an 80s sitcom. So that's Days of Thunder, which was also basically Top Gun. From the lead character being a hotshot with more talent than caution, the older father figure teaching him the ropes, the blonde love interest who has a complicated working relationship, the rival to friend, and even the tragic midpoint accident that leaves the hero at his lowest point. There is even a lot of similarity in how Scott shoots the cockpit of a jet fighter versus a high-powered stock car. However, as the title of this video alludes to, Days of Thunder is far superior to Top Gun in almost every way. Well, except in the way that involves box office returns.
Son, your ego is writing checks your body can't cash.
Days of Thunder has a far more convincing and far more equal romance. It's also got a better enemies to friends arc. Iceman only seemed to respect Maverick a few seconds before the end of the film. Here, Rowdy and Cole become friends after a shared trauma and a series of boyish races in wheelchairs and rental cars. So when Rowdy asks Cole to race his car, there is a lot behind that moment, a shared history. For this reason, it's also good that Elway's Russ Wheeler is such a sneering two-dimensional asshole. He appears late in the movie's second act and is there to be a final antagonist Cole can triumph over. It's far more personality than the nameless pilots that Maverick shoots down in Top Gun's climax. Cole is also far more likable and nuanced than Maverick. He has character flaws, a limit to his knowledge and ability, and a clear arc about working with a team and letting go of his fear and anger. The only thing that Maverick really learns is that sometimes he should think a little more, but not too much more. With Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer, Tony Scott, and Tom Cruise all working together again, it's like a second draft on a film they had already released. However, it wasn't exactly a smooth production. Given how well so many things are set up and paid off in the plot, it was surprising to learn that they started to shoot the movie before they even finished the script. The third act was practically made up on the fly, while being filmed during the actual Daytona 500. Producer Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer were also consistently fighting on set, probably because one of them was constantly coked up. Which one? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's not the one who didn't die because his heart was full of cocaine. It was a flop on release, but Days of Thunder quickly became a cult classic, at least in the circles I grew up in. My family was very much involved in the local stock car circuit, with many Saturday nights spent running a team at the nearby speedway. My sister drove a V8 muscle car for most of a decade, and Days of Thunder was like her hype song. While it's not very accurate to the sport, it certainly captures the feel and look of the automotive world at the time. From Rowdy's wood-coated trophy room to the brands and models of cars used, Days of Thunder is like a nostalgic time capsule of a certain place and time. It's also engaging, exciting, beautifully shot, and looks great 35 years later. Cruise has said he is returning to the role of Cole Trickle after the next Top Gun is filmed, and I think he will slip back into the part nicely. A modern film will definitely take advantage of both NASCAR as it is now, and the recent trend of in-camera vehicular spectacle popularized by Top Gun Maverick and the recent F1. However, I don't know if it will still capture the same lightning in a bottle that came out of a true mess of a production. It will also sorely miss Tony Scott's cinematic skill in making everyone look like they are covered in buckets of sweat constantly.
But no talk about racing. Come on. Come on.
All right, no talk about racing.
Come on, Buck. Race your ass.
A wonderful film 35 years later that came out of an absolute disaster of a production and a total flop of a box office. I think that it's had a lot of reappraisal lately, and I think that people really like it. One thing I do enjoy about the film that aids towards the nostalgia is the sponsorship brands in the movie are so very specific and very of their time, with Exxon and Mellow Yellow and Superflow all being pretty prominent, which is very interesting because NASCAR has certainly graduated to higher sponsorships, things like McDonald's and Monster Energy drink.
I'm Ricky Bobby. If you don't chew Big Red, then you.
But let me know in the comments what you think of Days of Thunder and how it relates to Top Gun. Which one do you actually think is better? Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching. Remember, stay safe and be who you are. I realize the irony of trying to talk about NASCAR with a bunch of Star Trek and nerd shit behind me. I didn't really keep much of my NASCAR stuff from my early days in my family. The only thing I actually have is this Dale Earnhardt rookie, or not rookie, but 1990 Talladega Speedway trading card, but it's way too small to like fit anywhere in the back. So, but it's pretty neat. Look at my card.